Hey there, guys. Alright, today we are back with some more extra credits, continuing on with the Byzantine Empire series, Justinian and Theodora, Impossible Burden of Fate, Extra History, number 5. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you followed me over at Twitch and joined the Discord. Now that all that promo stuff is out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. Bum, bum.
Dawn rises on Constantinople. A few men sweep the streets, clearing what remains
Sweep the streets I used to rule.
of yesterday's triumph. Belisarius
Gotta please. Oh, that's such a dated song now. It's old now.
has restored Africa to the empire. Justinian has restored Africa to the empire. The glory of Rome grows.
Glory.
Justinian's great cathedral grows from old ashes. All memory of the violent days of Nika are just that now, memories. Where once there were the scars of fire, there's now marble and gold. His city is triumphant. But still, he is awake at dawn. Something's not finished.
Something's up. Something smelly. A smelly kind of smell.
Something's left undone. He has brought order where there was none. He's made justice the province of all men. He has worked to heal the faith and toppled a heretical king. He's brought riches to the empire, brought pride to the army. He's even made peace with the East. And yet for all this, one thought haunts him. One thought keeps him from Theodora's bed. The city of Rome is not part of the Roman Empire. Sunrise after sunrise pass like this. Each day he greets the dawn, still awake from
Hold on. I gotta get into. Praise the sun. There we go.
the night's toil. He labors for his city and for his people, and yet he's a Roman emperor without Rome. Then one day he's greeted by a message. As he reads its words, anger and joy war within him, and over it all he can't help but wonder at the remarkable nature of all things. He'd kept his friend Belisarius in the city. He'd even made him a consul to acknowledge his service while he waited for new orders. Justinian knew one day he'd give the command, and Belisarius would sail towards the setting sun to restore the Western Roman Empire. But the time was never right. The Ostrogoths who currently ruled Italy were friends of his Rome, and their queen had even tried to raise her son like a Roman. He couldn't just declare war on their neighbors and friends, but he knew it would be his legacy to bring the Eternal City, to bring the birthplace of the Empire back into the Empire itself. And now in his hand, he had it. His key to the ancient city, the birthplace of Scipio and Caesar and Augustus. It came with a price, though. The queen of the Ostrogoths, the legitimate heir of their country, was dead, strangled in her bath. She had been a friend of Justinian's. She had once even asked if she could take asylum in his court if she ever had to flee. And now she was dead, overthrown by a cousin who thought she was too Roman. But her death would bring him Rome, because now at last he has an excuse for war. He would bring vengeance and restoration of a rightful rule. But part of him has to laugh. He remembers how a few short years ago the same exact events had played out with the Vandals to give him back Africa.
Yeah.
It has to be a sign. He tosses aside the crumpled
A sign from God.
note. It's time to ready the ships of war. Belisarius stands before his fleet. His emperor, his friend Justinian, has commanded him to sail on Italy. He paces back and forth, inspecting his men. A mere 7,500 men with which he has to conquer all of Italy. That's barely half what he'd had in Africa, and even that victory had been a miracle. He knows the legions are stretched thin. They have to garrison the new provinces, as well as manage the many other borders of the empire, but 7,500 men? That's impossible. He straps on his helmet. If his friend and emperor command, he will do the impossible again. After weeks of waiting for word from Belisarius, a courier finally arrives. Justinian tears the seal from the parchment, and as he reads, a smile crosses his lips. Belisarius had sailed to Sicily, and town after town had surrendered to him. Only Panormus had defied the might of Rome, and there Belisarius had done what Belisarius did best. The Ostrogoths defending Panormus had pulled back to the city, abandoning the countryside and trusting to their walls to keep the small Roman force out. Belisarius had known he couldn't afford to get bogged down in a siege, and he didn't have enough men to storm the town. For most commanders, this would have doomed the campaign. A delay here would have, at the very least, bought the Ostrogoths time to bring reinforcements from the mainland. But Belisarius had simply pulled his ships into the undefended harbor and ordered his men to climb the masts. From atop the masts, they had poured down a hail of arrows upon the exposed defenders, driving them from the walls and allowing the Romans to take the city. Justinian's smile grows. All is going according to plan. He had sent money to the Franks in far-off Gaul to have them invade Italy from the west, while another of his forces pushed in toward Italy from the east. The usurper king of Rome had sent envoys, at first offering to acknowledge Justinian's rule of Sicily, and then, in the latest round of talks, apparently offering all of Italy so long as he himself was spared. Justinian's Roman Empire would be whole again soon. Meanwhile, Belisarius stands upon the walls of Panormus, looking to the north. He can see the coast of Italy from the walls. The messengers have brought him nothing but bad news. In the east, the Roman forces had withdrawn when their commander fell in a recent battle. Even worse, he was also being called back to Africa. The troops he'd left there were in revolt. If he doesn't sail for Carthage right away, all they had won in Africa might be lost. Italy will have to wait. Rage. Rage is Justinian's only emotion. Italy was in his grasp. He was a few signatures away from retaking the heart of the empire, and now that chance is gone.
No!
The Ostrogothic usurper imprisoned his envoys and rejected all previous offers when he heard of Belisarius' delay and the retreat of the Roman army marching through Dalmatia. Justinian's chance for a quick, clean victory is lost. Now the heartland will have to be won by fire and sword. As he pens a letter to Belisarius, Justinian cannot help but think of what he's going to do to this so-called Ostrogothic king. The world will know, you do not imprison the ambassadors of Rome. After returning from Carthage, Belisarius had landed at Rhegium and moved north along the Italian coast. The Italians were far less inviting than the African subjects of Rome, but still, city after city threw open its gates, and his forces marched unopposed, at least until they reached Neapolis. He had ordered his army to set up camp outside its walls. That had been 20 days ago. Now he weighs his options. He could abandon the siege and see if he could make it to Rome, and perhaps get reinforcements from Constantinople while there. But no, leaving a strong enemy garrison behind him can't be the right choice. He simply doesn't have enough men. At every town and city along the way, he'd have to leave a garrison to maintain control, and now his force was barely large enough to encircle the city. There was movement by his tent, one of his soldiers. "Sir, one of the barbarian mercenaries has something to tell you." He waves over the man, who says, "I was looking over the aqueducts. I never saw anything like them. And now that we broke them and they're all dry, I figured I'd poke around a bit and see how they were made. I found a pipe, sir, a waterway that, if we enlarged the opening a bit, could fit a man." He doesn't waste a minute. He sends orders to his officers. "Get your men, have them prepared to attack the far wall. Tell them to make a lot of noise, and tell them not to die. 5 of you, grab chisels and follow this man here." As Belisarius' men attack the walls, shouting and beating their shields, but never really coming close enough to encounter a serious risk, his small force of engineers widen the entry to the pipe, their hammers and chisels drowned out by the diversion. Soon, Belisarius is given word. It's done. They can enter the city by cover of night. The pipe leads straight through the walls. He calls for a messenger, and quickly pens a note to the leadership of Neapolis. "Please surrender now. I have a way into your city. And I'm afraid I won't be able to keep my barbarian mercenaries from sacking your city if we have to take it by force. I'll try to hold them back, but I don't think there's much I can do."
No, wait. Stop.
Justinian is smiling again. Neapolis is taken, and Belisarius is on his way to Rome. It really is a pity that the Hunnish troops had looted and pillaged Neapolis for a full day before Belisarius could get them under control. It might make the rest of the campaign more difficult. People might not be so eager to open their gates. Still, Justinian can't help but be amused by his friend. For all of Belisarius' cleverness, he could be shockingly naive. Apparently, it never occurred to him that people might be suspicious of a note politely asking them to surrender. But it doesn't matter now, because there's but one objective left. Ahead of them is Rome.
All right, so this is what, a 6-part series, and we're just now getting to Rome? How are they gonna end this series in one part? I feel like there's a lot left. But we'll see. This is part 5 of Extra Credits, Extra History series, The Byzantine Empire, Justinian and Theodora, The Impossible Burden of Fate. This was, again, another one of the boring episodes where I felt... I like it when they deep dive and add context. However, when it comes to warfare and this kind of thing, them diving this deep and taking this much time on really something super small, because we didn't learn anything new here. We learned a couple of things, but nothing really new. Nothing really changed or all that happened is that he gained Sicily. Justinian has gained Sicily in this. So yeah, this was a weaker episode. Still love their style and how they tell their stories though. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.